I am honored to have this opportunity. This isn't just an opportunity, but it's a major opportunity because of the fact that this is the inaugural graduation of the Lone Star High School. Graduates, give yourselves a hand. I certainly want to thank Mr. Husband. Thank you very much for having me. The Lone Star staff, thank you all for allowing me the honor of being the very first speaker for the commencement. I want to celebrate, and graduates, do me a favor. All of your family and friends that are out here supporting you today, give them a hand. Today is one of the most interesting days for me, and I was sharing with one of the staff members, Ms. Kim. I was telling her, I said, I've stood before thousands of people and spoken before, but for some reason today seems to be that day where the butterflies are in my stomach and I'm a little nervous. But I understand why that is. The reason why I'm a little nervous is because today marks a turning point in your lives. It's not the ending, it's the beginning. So it's incumbent upon me to say words that will help guide you in the direction that you're going to go next. Now, I'm in kind of an interesting position because of the fact that when I was taught public speaking, they taught me 3 B's. 3 B's. They said, be brief, be interesting, and be seated. Now, I'll warn y'all now, I only mastered 2 of those. I'll take a wild guess as to which. No, actually, I got the be brief and be seated, but hopefully I'll be interesting as well. I remember only a few, and a few meaning 15, 16, 7, somewhere up there. Years ago, I was sitting where you guys were sitting. And as I was sitting there, I was listening to a speaker, and I honestly can't tell you I remember anything the speaker said. Okay? I don't remember. But I think that's probably because I was really ready to get my diploma. I was ready to turn my tassel and call it a day. I had had enough of school. I was done. That was it. I'm done. Well, today I hope that something I say to the graduates, and I also understand that everyone that's here, you're not here by accident. While you're sitting here, you're going to get something, hopefully you'll get something in what I say that will challenge your life, that will challenge you to go further than you've ever been before in your life. One of the dangers in life is that we become complacent with where we are and never dream to go any further. You've got to make up your mind that no matter how good things are now, there's always better. In 2007, Mr. Husband, in 2007, I stood up before a group of young people speaking at a youth conference, and I delivered for the very first time, I delivered the message, Make It Count. And when I opened my message of Make It Count, ladies and gentlemen, I said these words. I said, if you were to walk through a graveyard, and you look at every tombstone, there will be a date on the left, and there'll be a date on the right. The date on the left, of course, represents the date that you came into the world. You made your grand and your glorious entrance into the world. You know, when everybody celebrated and said, oh, it's a boy, it's a girl. Oh, she's so big, she's so small. Look at it. Y'all remember that day, right? Now, if you say you remember that day, we got a problem. Well, anyway, then you look at the date on the right. The date on the right represents the date that that person, whoever's tombstone it is, left this earth. But I want to submit to you today that there's a punctuation mark that falls in between there that makes the most difference. And that's called the dash. I asked those young people that day in that room, and I asked everybody in attendance this question. And so today I pose the same question to every graduate and to everyone sitting in the room. What significant thing will you do with your dash? What will you do with your dash? Now, generally when I speak to audiences, I tend to try and leave them a theme or a special thought so they have something to revisit after it's all over. I was sitting at my computer this morning trying to get the finalization of the words that I was going to say this morning, and I heard 2 words resonate down on the inside of my heart. And they're real simple words. After this. After this. One of the great things about life, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have choices. Especially here in America, you've got a whole lot of choices. If you can dream it, you can do it. If you can believe it, you can make it happen. Because you've got choices. Now, I want to tell you, graduates, I've been out of school for a little while now, and I can give you some life experience and tell you that now that you're coming out of high school and you're stepping into the real world, so to speak, not that you weren't already in the real world, but once you step out, you've got to understand that you're going to deal with obstacles. Obstacles are going to come. I want to celebrate you because you've already overcome a whole lot of them. It took you overcoming obstacles to get here today. So you deserve to be celebrated. But I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the proof of your strength is in your ability to overcome obstacles. You don't prove how strong you are by how well you talk. You prove how strong you are by your ability to keep going in the midst of adversity. I want to leave you with a few D's to help you get through life. If you can remember these few D's, I promise you, you'll get wherever you want to go. Number one, dream. Dream. And let me just add to that, if you're going to dream, why dream small? Right. If you're going to dream, why dream a little dream? You were created to dream big. You were created to think big. So why not dream big? I mean, shucks. If you dream big, and even if you miss it, you still come out doing some great things, right? Right. Well, when you leave today, you're going to travel down, everybody's going to travel down different roads, different paths, and let me encourage you with something. Don't let anybody tell you what to dream. Right. The problem is, now see, let me help you guys. You've got family members, you've got friends, and all of them are going to try and tell you what you should dream. They're going to tell you you ought to be this, and you ought to go out for this, and you ought to try that. But let me tell you something. You're not going to have passion for anything other than what you dream. Right. So what I'm encouraging you to do is dream big, and go after it. In fact, that's my next step. Decide. That's the next D. Because one of the things I've discovered about life, you'll have a whole lot of dreams. Mr. Husband, you'll have a whole lot of dreams, a whole lot of big things that you're expecting that can't happen. But at some point, you've got to make a decision to go after the dream. Because without a decision, all you've got is an intention. Right. And let me help you with something. Intention means nothing unless there's a decision to follow it. You accomplish very little. In fact, you accomplish nothing if you never decide. Now I'm going to take you a step further. After you've made your decision, there's another D. You just got to do it. A whole lot of people make decisions, but they sit down on their decisions. They sit down on their do nothing and do nothing. You cannot afford, because of all that has been invested in all of you sitting here and all of you sitting out there, you can't afford to sit and do nothing with what's on the inside of you. It's time for you to get up and do what's inside you. Nike has a word, they call it, well, actually the word Nike in the Greek, it's from the Greek word nikeo. It means to do it. But it doesn't just mean to do it, it means do it passionately. Do it passionately. Once you have dreamed, once you've decided, and when you start to do it, the next D is don't get distracted. Right. Because what will happen is you'll start going in a direction, and there'll be a whole lot of things that will try and get you to go another direction than the direction you should be going. There's a whole lot of good ideas that aren't the best ideas for your life. When you make up your mind to go a right direction, keep going. Don't let anybody stop you. And let me just share this with you. Life is going to happen. Life is going to bring you difficulties, but don't let it distract you. I'm going to put a quick pin right here and just say to you, when life does happen, don't complain. people spend their lives complaining about all the stuff that goes on. Everybody in this room can find at least 10 things to complain about right now. Everybody. But here's the reality. Instead of complaining about the storm and the wind, gain the energy, get the energy to adjust your sails and keep moving. You got to keep going. That's the only way you win. Don't stop. Don't get distracted. And then don't stop. I wrote this in an article a while ago, and I thought it bears sharing today. I think a man's failures are not so much a result of his bad decisions as they are a result of his failure to be consistent with the good ones. It's not so much that we make bad decisions. It's just that when we make good decisions, we don't stick to them. So graduates, my encouragement to you, when you've made a good decision, stick to it. Let me tell you another word you got to be careful of. Everyone in this room has to be careful of a word called convenience. Convenience only satisfies a moment, but it doesn't give any thought to tomorrow. You can either do what's easy or you can do what's best. I promise you, what's best will never, ever, ever come easy. I promise you, what's best will always require work. I promise you, it's going to require you to sweat sometimes. I promise you, it's going to require you to cry sometimes. But I want to tell you this, and anybody that's ever experienced some of the good things of life can tell you that every tear will be worth it. Some of you cried your way through school. Some of you, when you felt like you couldn't do it, you were ready to give up. You had to shed some tears, but you made it. You're here. In closing, there'll be a lot of people both here in your circle of connections that have good intentions for you. Only stay connected to the people who can push you where you're trying to go. I'm going to tell you right now, because you made this decision, I promise you that if you look around your circle, all of you sitting here, there's a few people in your circle that didn't get to where you are. Am I right? Some people that were supposed to graduate this year didn't graduate. Yeah. But you made it. So you got to disconnect from people who aren't going the direction that you're going, or at least who can't push you in the direction that you need to go. I'm closing with this. I have an 18-year-old son. And let me be clear about it. He's not a bad son, thankfully. But sometimes he just makes some off-the-wall decisions. I'll call them unwise decisions. How about that? We'll just call them unwise decisions. Now, what amazes me is this. When he does something wrong, he tends to give me all the reasons why he did what he did and made the decisions that he made. In the end, my wife will tell you, my beautiful wife is sitting right there, and she'll tell you, my usual response to my son is, you have a reason, but you have no excuse. Life will bring you a whole lot of reasons, but you still have no excuse. At the end of the day, he tells me about all the people that influenced him in his decision. And I tell him these words, son, you just said all the people that influenced you in whose decision? Your decision. At the end of the day, it was your decision all along. So you got to be the one that takes responsibility for your decision. After today, you can't blame what happens in your life on whatever happened in your past. You may not have had the best upbringing. You may not live in the best environment. You may not have had all the opportunities that everybody else had. I'm not just talking to the graduates here. I'm talking to everybody in this room. You may not have had the best that life has to offer. that you're a champion. You made it this far. That's proof that you're designed to win. Every day, you're writing a book. And I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot change the invisible ink that has gone on the pages of your life already thus far. You can't change those. But just a few minutes from now, graduates, you're going to walk across this stage and you're going to close another chapter in your story. But when you close this chapter, the question you have to ask to yourselves, and everybody in here, when you walk out this room, you've got to ask yourself this question: what's next? Will I go directly into the workforce and be a good employee? Will I go to college and perhaps waste my time because I don't want to apply myself? Will I go into the military and be a good soldier in the military? Will I start my own business and be successful? Yes, sitting right here. Even though you're just coming out of high school, you can start your own business and be successful. I told you, I dream big. After today, I have a question. Will you become legendary, or will you be a story that was told? Either way, I've got news for you. Your graduation today, it's a launching pad for what could be a great life. But what matters most are the two words I gave you at the beginning. What are you going to do after this? You only live once, so you got to make it count.